What's up, everyone? This is Red Bull Tanker back with Operation Fog of War, Turn 8 for the United Kingdom and the Far East Command, although I should just say the United Kingdom because the Far East Command has fallen. Let's kind of go over the board a little bit here. Look at some places. All right, first off, the Americans are continuing their buildup in the East to try and make up for some of our setbacks in Europe. The U.S. 2nd Infantry Division has been established and is getting ready to make its way across the Atlantic. Here, off of Gibraltar, the United States has brought the bulk of the 5th Army, along with the Canadian Army. Let's see, up here in Gibraltar, the reconstituted 34th Infantry Division with some artillery support is protecting the vital British territory, while in Morocco, the reconstituted U.S. 1st Infantry Division and the 36th Infantry Division hold to prepare their next moves. Let's see here. What else is there? So some other big news next. We come down to Africa. Japan has brought in a decent-sized fleet over to Africa, which has now upset our plans for this turn, and have dropped some ground troops into Kenya, while also finishing off the taking of India, as you can see right there, and consolidating up here against China and the Russians. However, the U.S. hit back in a couple ways. They came into the Philippines and retook the Philippines and launched a decent naval strike against a small Japanese force that was discovered sitting off of Japan. And then out in the west, the U.S. is also building up forces. We have the 77th Infantry Division and the 7th Infantry Division ready to go with artillery support. And we have the U.S. 41st Infantry Division sitting up here in Alaska, keeping an eye out for the Japanese there. Missed one area, Russia. In Russia, things continue to seesaw between the Russians and the Germans. The Russians caught a really nice break when Germany made a move against Western Ukraine during their turn, and it was a stalemate battle. All troops on both sides were lost, which allowed for the Russians to move some units into eastern Poland and get some troops farther out that way. So that was real nice for them. Other than that, Russia continues to try and build up in order for the titanic battles that they'll fight against the Germans, while recapturing Kazakhstan and the Caucasus from the Japanese. So I should have been doing this since turn 1, and I haven't. And I'm kind of kicking myself, so I'll remember it for next time. These are all the casualties on the board up till now. Germany has lost 9 infantry, 2 artillery, and a tank. The Soviets have, 1, 2, 6... They've lost 8 infantry, 1 mech, 1 artillery. Japan has lost an infantry, 3 destroyers, a submarine. They used all 6 of their kamikazes against the U.S. fleet that attacked against Sea Zone 6, and lost 3 fighters that the Japanese scrambled for that fight. Well, in that similar battle, the United States lost a submarine, 2 destroyers, a cruiser, and their battleship. China's casualties were 2 infantry. Our own casualties have been an infantry, a destroyer, and a mechanized infantry. The Italians have somehow, in this game, had snuck a submarine all the way to Japan and took part in the battle off of Japan, and it got sunk. And the French have lost a destroyer. And luckily for the Anzacs, there hasn't been any Anzac casualties this turn. So, the Anzacs locked out on that one. All right, so let's get going. All right, so Before we get into purchases, we did one round of scouting. We took our strategic bomber from Transjordan, 1, 2, 3, to figure out the bulk of the Japanese fleet off of West India. We had gotten word that the battleship, cruiser, destroyer, and the 4 transports were there. But to aid American efforts in the Pacific, we wanted to make sure where this last carrier was, and we happened to find it there, and we discovered that the Japanese battleship was damaged. Okay, so purchases. We had 30 IPC. We spent 27 of it on 3 infantry. We had no attacks this turn. So just going right into non-combats. Let's see here. Starting off, we have moved the Queen Victoria and her destroyer escort down to Gibraltar with the American fleet and the Canadian Army. Next, down here in South Africa, we've taken all the South African forces and pushed them to Rhodesia, while at the same time taking our 2 units in Kenya and also bringing them to Rhodesia. Kind of hoping that we can maybe get the Japanese to send their troops to South Africa, where we can catch them in a vice and counterattack them there. As much as we don't want to, but we don't have the forces to do it, we have decided to take our fleet out of Sea Zone 71 and bring them to Sea Zone 78. If Japan vacates the Indian Ocean to go back against the Americans, well, we can move our fleet back at that time. Let's see, up here in the Middle East, our bomber came back to Iraq. Then basically another game of pulling back. So we took the 8th Army minus 1 infantry and sent it back to Iraq. The Americans are aiding us in Iraq with their own fighter. We brought the 2 infantry from Persia as well into Iraq. Going to turn Iraq basically into a massive block for us. And then we took the 14th Army, pulled it back to Persia, leaving 1 infantry to defend eastern Persia against the Japanese. So, if I'm not mistaken, that is all of our non-combats this turn. Deployments went pretty easily. We deployed 3 units to Persia. We deployed 3 units to Iraq. And I'll consolidate all this later. And finally, just to safeguard it maybe, we deployed 3 more units into South Africa. All right, at the end of the turn, we still have 30 IPC. However, we were informed that we were convoy rated for a cost of 1. And we saved 3 from purchases. So altogether, we get 29. So we have 32 IPC for the next round. So that is the end of turn 8 for the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, like I said, the Far East Command is out of the game, and things are getting really dicey in the Middle East. We'll have to see how things play out. We at least expect the Japanese to possibly make a move against Persia. At least make a move probably against Persia and South Africa. But now with the United States and we hear from the Anzacs that the Anzac forces are also going to start moving out into the Pacific as well. Probably going to cause the Japanese to want to come, get their fleet out from the Indian Ocean to get back in here so they can counterattack the Americans. So, like I said, that is it. And we will see you guys next time for turn 9. So until then, guys, take care.